Hello, this is COMM 101 81N. These are your persuasive speech critiques, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get some of that out of the way now. The biggest problem, continuing problem, and if I get a little aggressive on it, it's because when was the last time you heard me say about this shot, bus line, like this? I can do both at the same time. Bus line to an inch or two above the head. The only shot I ever want to see. You got one more speech to do. I've got 4 speeches where you've done shots from the North 40 and you're over there and your audience is out there somewhere and the audience isn't walking in front of the camera. I have so many things that are not getting me to what I need this picture in order to judge your speech. I have to be able to hear you. I have to be able to see you. If I can't do either, then you know what? I can't give you a passing grade on the speech. It's hurting you. I've said it's hurting you, and for some reason, people don't choose to pay any attention to that. So, composition. This shot right here. Bus line to an inch or two above the head. I don't want it changed for any reason. I don't want you to zoom, tilt, pan. If you've got a visual, send me a copy of the visual. Do not point the camera over there somewhere. Your audience must walk in front of this shot. Look right at the camera and say, my name is, and give their age. And if they're sensitive to talking about their age, then I need to know they're over the age of 21, or if they're younger than that, over the age of 16 or older. That's what it says you have to have. All right. The other thing is it tells you specifically what you're supposed to do. And just as an example, in your public speaker critique, it said double space what you send me. I have people send me single spaced. What are you supposed to do when people don't follow the directions? The only thing you can do is say, here's a speech critique that everybody did what they're supposed to do, and here's one over here where nobody did what they're supposed to do, or some didn't do what they were supposed to do. Well, I can't, this is a good critique, but they didn't follow the directions. I can't possibly give these people the same good grade I gave the other people who did everything right. So if you both had A+ public speaker critiques, and one of you followed the directions and one of you didn't, one of you is not an A+ grade. It's that easy. You've got to follow the directions. We go to great trouble to explain all of that. All right, at this point, depending on whether or not you've done exam number 5, which is open, there are 110 points left in the class. All right, that's it. Now, we've said this, and I've had a couple of people ask, from the get-go, we've announced there is no extra credit available in this class. All of the points available are stated very clearly in the syllabus. You've got 40 points left in discussion boards, 20 in one exam left, and 50 for the special occasion speech. That's it. After that, the raw numbers, you can figure it out. 90 to 100 is an A. Pretty easy. 80 to 89 is a B, or in this case, it's 900 to 1,000. And then you've got 80 to 89, or 800 to 890 is a B. Okay, you can figure it out from there. The next speech you have coming up is a special occasion speech. In a lot of situations, that's a toast by a bridesmaid or a best man at a wedding. Other examples of a kind of a celebratory speech like that would be to look for an example of a kid giving a graduation speech at high school or college graduation. Don't look at the Bill Cosbys or the big shots or the president or the vice president giving a college graduation speech. You want to look at someone who was a part of it, part of the emotion of what they've gone through. So a high school graduation speech, college graduation speech. Another one that most people don't think about is a funeral speech, a eulogy of some kind. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. If you will go to YouTube and type in COMM, COMM, 101, special occasion speeches. You'll see a lot of special occasion speeches there. If you'll go to any kind of YouTube or anything else and just type in funny eulogies, entertaining graduation speeches, great toasts, anything like that, you're going to get a lot of examples of what this should be about. It's got to be someone you know, someone that you have met, dealt with, that you have a certain kind of affection for. That'll come off a lot better. Now let's go through some of the directions. You need to make sure that the person you pay tribute to is a group or a person, could be an institution. You may recognize the person you admire, or some kind of an organization or institution you have great feeling for. The speech focuses primarily on the use of language and encourages you to use it imaginatively. This is the only speech in this class you will be able to read. I don't want you down here all the time reading everything and never look up because you're reading all down here. You need to know the speech well enough that you can glance down and kind of talk it. But the only paper you turn into me is a manuscript. It's a word-for-word manuscript of what your speech is about. Length is 4 minutes. That's 3:45 to 4:15. Less than that, more than that, you're going to have problems. Manuscript guidelines. Now listen to this carefully. The manuscript should be typed, triple spaced. Triple spaced. That's 3. Triple spaced. All right. Each page should contain a complete thought. Do not carry over a sentence onto the next page, etc., etc. And read this. It'll tell you all this. You have 50 points on this, 4 minutes, and what I have seen people do is take the next, whatever's going to be on the next page, the first 4 or 5 words for the next page on the bottom of the page you're currently looking at, so that when you flip the page, you already know what's on the next page. That helps you move a little better. The speaking outline is the transcript, word for word. All right. There is no preparation outline. The organization should typically have a specific purpose statement or follow kind of an outline format. This does not mean, however, that you can just ramble. Your speech should flow well and in a logical fashion. Visual aids are optional. Sources are not required, but if you say something that's factual and you don't quote where it came from, then you are in trouble. All right? That's your next assignment. Now, let's get on with these. This first person is Beyonce. Beyonce, nice appearance. You had a very important topic. Great opening, but the lighting was a little dim on you. Establish your credibility. You did, but try to get it up higher. When you did establish it, it was very solid. Well done on that. You're shooting up into your face, straight in, okay? You have an excellent presentation, good advocacy for young girls, and remember that Miss America is not the only beauty pageant that's out there. Keep your flow consistent as you go so that you always are kind of moving at a pace. Change the pace a little bit, but don't get to a point where you seem to get lost in what you're going to say next. And also the hair. Don't touch your hair while you're giving a speech. Very distracting. Next up is Bubbles. Bubbles, you went very long on your speech. It's supposed to be 6 minutes. You ran 7 minutes and 38 seconds. You have 599 ingredients, you say. Did you count them? How do you know that? I'm thinking maybe you have a source for that. You didn't tell us what it was. Right off the top, you've got to cite your sources. You have a very strong start. You talked about lung cancer and 85%. Says who? Where'd you get that number? How do you know? Source, 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 source. You have several facts in your speech when you don't mention sources. You went 3 minutes and 5 seconds into your speech before you did anything that would establish your credibility, and you have a light tisk. Degsy, D-E-G-S-Y. You went a bit long on your speech. Your outlines are not labeled. I need to know which one you think is a preparation outline and which one is a speaking outline. You have the wrong shot composition. You need to stand still. You're moving way too much. Way, way, way too much. You're swaying. That doesn't flow well when people are watching you and you're speaking. It just is horribly distracting. There was so much movement that it's distracting. It's hard to follow your line of reasoning. You have vocalized pauses, uhs and ums. And who is Brad Thor? That's a name that doesn't come across for who it is you're talking about. Next is Jedi. Jedi, you went too long, 7 minutes and 35 seconds. You had a decent speech. You only used 2 sources, and I saw no visuals. There was very bright audio. Very bright video. It's almost so bright that yellowish looking, but pretty much washed out everything. This was an interesting topic, but you didn't seem to pull it together. You suggest that government is a bully, but you ignore other federally mandated laws that could support your thought a little bit. Watch the okay and so. Do we need government to protect us from ourselves? That would be a good statement in there. And what about other government rules that aren't enforced? For instance, you have to wear a seatbelt in a car, but a motorcyclist can go down the road at 70 miles an hour and not have to wear a helmet. Whatever the reason is to have to wear a seatbelt is solid, and I'll tell you in a minute. That same reason should really apply to the motorcycle people, but basically the motorcycle people have a better lobby, so they're keeping it from being a law. Now here's the deal. Motorcycle person doesn't have to wear a helmet. They get injured. They don't have insurance. They're going to be in the hospital. They're going to be comatose for 40 years. Who pays for that? Well, eventually you and me. If a seatbelt keeps me from having to pay your hospital bill, then I'm kind of all for seatbelts. So what about the cost for us to pay for your failure to take safety precautions? And that's where Big Brother gets involved, and you didn't mention that, but that was something that would have made it very strong. Daisy, you're up next. You were short in your length. You need to tighten up on the shot. You have no outlines. You have good information. This was pretty well presented. But you ran short, and there were other things that you could have done to make this better. And I can't judge it when I don't have all the materials. Next up is Forrest. Wrong shot composition. Here we go. I mean, have you heard this before? Zoom in. It's hard to see your eyes because of the overhead lighting coming down. If you have deep set eyes, the overhead lighting then causes a shadow, and it's hard to tell sometimes whether your eyes are open or closed. You're standing in front of a big white area. Slow down just a bit and talk to us, not at us. You're being conversational is what you need to be. Don't speechify. Talk to me. Talk with me. Where are your visuals? You needed at least one. You didn't send me a copy, so I have no idea. And so you want to make sure you take care of that. Next up is Owl. Owl, you need to stop moving before you start talking. You know, you can't do one of these. All right, today I want to talk to you about, hey, look, come in, get set, look down, see what you want to say, look at the camera, and start. Same thing at the end. Finish your last sentence, and then leave or have somebody turn off the camera. What's your credibility? Get it up front. Talk to me about why you're doing this speech. Great eye contact. It was well presented, but you sound a little bit speechy and not quite as conversational as you can be. This was an excellently researched and professionally done speech, and you talked about the Department of Human Health and Services. Health and Human Services is the name of the department. So Human Health and Services, you want to make sure those are mistakes an audience will just grab onto and crucify you with. So you want to make sure when you're giving a speech, especially a speech that's good and important, that you clarify all of the stuff you're talking about. All right. You have special occasion speech. Do a good job. Talk to me. Use metaphors. Use colorful language. Tell me what a great person this person was that you're talking about. Why is he or she a great person? Give me a story. All right? And then please, I'll tell you what, if you don't have the shot I'm talking about, your grade is just going to suffer horribly. It's only a 50-point speech, but I can't do it anymore. I started the very first time and said the only shot I ever want to see is this one. And what do? Not you personally, but collectively. And you know what? I really don't like doing the big kind of shovel when we hit everybody with the same shovel when it's only one or two people. But everybody, don't make some mistakes that you know you shouldn't be making. If you have any questions, call me in my office. Let's talk about it. All right? Remember, no extra credit. The points you get are there. I'm sending out a latest grade sheet, so you'll be able to see that. And just in case, I've also included the critique address from the informative speech. Some people told me that they couldn't, they didn't think it was the right one, so it's there again if you want to take a look and see what I said about your informative speeches. All right, you have a good one and good luck on your final speeches and the final points in the class. We'll talk to you next time.